Well, hello and good evening, darlings. I do think I'm live. I do hope you guys can hear me. Please let me know quickly if you can hear and see me. That would be most marvelous. So today I'm just doing a Q&A. I haven't done a Q&A. Well, I haven't done a live for quite a while, and certainly no Q&A for quite some time. And I thought, oh, why not? So you can ask me anything you like, anything to do with my experience in Scientology, any questions that you have on any video that I've done. If you have any question in regards to cooking, you're trying to do something, you just can't get it quite right, and you need some advice, maybe I can provide that for you. And I'd like to announce, just because one should really, that I have started memberships. And so let me quickly show you. I actually have it prepared. I just hope it works. That's why I don't like to do lives, because I still don't quite get how it works. But never mind. And I'd like to thank already 4 members which have joined my membership. So let me get this on. Do let me know if you can see this. So we have Carolina TG, who became a comedy cuisine. We have So I Married an Ex-Scientologist. We have Cats Hate Colts, and Southern Yankee, who became Chef de Party. For anyone who doesn't quite understand these terms, let me quickly show you. I have here, let me see. Yes. So I can show you exactly what these different title means. So you've got, so this is obviously in Swiss money, but 95 Rappen, the first one, there will be about $1. Then you've got the other one for 2.95 would be about $3. And then you've got $6. This is about 10, $11. This would be 21, 22. This would be 31, $32. So the last three are really for people who just have too much money, don't know what to do. So you go right ahead if you want to do that, and I would very much appreciate that. Naturally, you'll get a bunch of new emojis. And let me just quickly explain what these different terms mean. So these are French terms, and these are different positions in the kitchen. So the first one, commis de cuisine, is a title you get normally after you had just finished culinary school, or you started to work in the kitchen, and it basically means like a young chef. And you'll be under and that is the next one, chef de partie. Chef de partie is somebody who's in charge in a certain area in the kitchen, and then tend to have 1 or 2 commis de cuisines. So the commis de cuisines are there. They've just finished culinary school, or maybe they just started, or they've just finished an apprenticeship and they're just starting out in the kitchen. They have some basic knowledge, and that's basically the first rank that you get once you're in the kitchen. And chef de partie is somebody who's been there already for a while, has maybe been to several restaurants or whatever, and they are responsible for a certain area in the kitchen. Then you've got the garde-manger. He or she is responsible for all the starters, so all the salads, all the cold dishes. When you have, for example, a banquet, and you've got little like little breads with some sort of gray stuff. Try the gray stuff; it's delicious. All that sort of stuff. That's what the garde-manger would do. Then we got the next one, which would be the intermétier. The intermétier, he is in charge of all the side dishes, the warm side dishes, including soup. So anything like potatoes, vegetables, polenta, rice, anything like that. Then we got the next one will be chef pâtissier, which is the main person doing all the pastries, all the chocolates and things like that. And just to go back again, you've got the intermétier and garde-manger, and they usually would have 1 or 2 chef de partie, who would in turn then have 1 or 2 commis de cuisine. Now, it obviously depends how large is the kitchen. If you have a kitchen and your restaurants can only serve 60, 70 people, you're obviously not going to have quite so many people. But, that is generally the idea behind that. And then last but not least is sous chef, which is the deputy head chef. And usually the sous chef is at the same time the saucier. The saucier is the person in charge of all the meats, all the fish, and of course all the sauces for that. And the sous chef is the deputy head chef. So he's the one shouting the most usually. And the head chef is normally right at the counter serving out the food. He's making sure everything is, he usually would plate the foods, make sure everything is there exactly the way he envisioned it. Or if the kitchen is large enough, then the sous chef would be there. And the head chef, he would be in the office doing all the tedious work that you have to do, all the paperwork, ordering food and all of that very boring stuff. Anyway, do ask me if you have any questions about that. And do join if you'd like to. Let me see. Okay, excellent. And I've just seen Coffee, Colds, and Crafts. How marvelous. New member. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for becoming a new member. Welcome to the kitchen crew. I hope you will find it warm and comfortable here. Oh my goodness. And she's gifted 5 membership. Thank you very much. Very generous of you. Please, everyone who got a new membership, do say thank you to Marilyn. That's very generous of her. Wow, goodness gracious. Already a very good start to the live. And yes, please do remember to write comment or question if you have a comment or question. I do not have anyone moderating for me, so I do have to go through, but at the same time, of course, not ignore anybody. Hello to everyone who has already been here. I want to say thank you as well to all the people who are now my members, of course, and all the people who have joined my channel in the last few months. I started this channel in March of this year, and I now have just over 1,500 subscribers, which is amazing and a little overwhelming, but it's great to see. Great to see. All right. Yes, everybody's thanking. Yes. Hello, darling, indeed. All right. Now, a few weeks back, I did a funny sort of skit video because there were a few people in the past who have confused me with a Swedish chef. And I just thought for I think they say shits and giggles, I'll just play it again. I do hope you find it amusing. And yes, please do enjoy. And after that, we'll be right back. Darlings, it has occurred to me that there has been joy. Oh, and by the way, do let me know if you can actually hear the audio. So, heute machen wir Popcorn. Jetzt fängt es mal gerade schon an, gell?
Das ist kein. Popcorn, der beste fast die Würdige und der Popcorn.
So, zuerst nehmen wir mal ein Töpfchen, dann machen wir da ein bisschen vom Öl drin, gell? So, jawohl, super da, hä? Jawohl. Jetzt machen wir ein bisschen von dem drin. Oh, super da, hey ja, hä? Nehmen wir da, gell? Hey, lassen Sie gar nicht sein. So, machen wir zu. Jetzt kommt der Deckel oben drauf, gell? Hey ja, so jetzt schauen wir mal, was da passiert, gell, da?
They're making a popcorn. They're making a popcorn. You're ready to see it. Oh, the popcorn. Stick it in the microwave. Stick it in the microwave. And we shake it. Whoop, whoop. We stick it in the oven. And we're going to see in the oven. Oh, that's it. You stick it in the 1, 2, 3. Yeah? No.
Ja, okay. Tschüss. Ja, tschüss.
Oh. Chippy! Chippy! Honey, Chippy! Honey, Chippy! Chippy! A Chippy! A Chippy! Chippy! It's pretty, pretty good. A popcorn the Chippy.
So, my little darlings, I do hope you can now tell the difference between me and the Swedish chef. He has a much more magnificent mustache, although I, at least, have a much more stiff chef's hat. Although, to be fair, he is getting on in years. Anyway, I do hope you found that interesting, amusing. Do hit the like if you. Right, so that was that, a little silliness to start the whole thing. I do hope you found it amusing. Yeah, it's just for shits and giggles, as they say. Popcorn, indeed. Right, I actually did community post, I think it's called, when on YouTube you write something up, and I shared a definition by Hubbard, and one of the comments was, well, it would be great if I would do like a series out of that, and I've decided to do something like the ABCs of Scientology words or of Scientology terms, and my idea of that would be to take like things that we've heard already, like for example, Cadet org or Cadet school and things like that. And well, what does Hubbard actually say that is what that the definition of that is, as well as taking words like having an open mind or Q&A. There's even a Scientology definition for Q&A. And these words that are usually quite innocent or don't have anything negative about it, like Q&A or an open mind, which as a matter of fact is a good thing to have an open mind. Hubbard twists it in a way so that it has a very bad and negative connotation. And so I thought of doing a video for each letter. So obviously it's going to be a bunch of videos. It's going to be probably around 10 minutes for each video. I will take for each letter, I will take maybe 2 or 3 words and then just read out loud the definition, from Scientology's dictionary. There are 2 dictionaries in Scientology, where Hubbard's words are defined. There are also regular terms defined, but it's just they're probably terms that are used very often in Hubbard's books. So that's why he decided to put them in there as well. And to just basically show you exactly what is written, I would then explain if there's anything very technical about it, and then maybe give you an example of how I used it or how I have seen it and so on and so forth. And so I thought about calling it the ABC or Scientology's ABCs in cold words, something like that. I mean, you do let me know if you have maybe another idea to make it a bit more catchy, to make it roll off the tongue a bit easier. And I thought I will do a little like intro, little jig every time I will present one of the new letters. So I wrote down some ideas. So please forgive my singing voice. I know my voice is kind of flat when I sing, but it's about the whole idea behind it. So let me know what you think of this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Let's learn about Scientology. All the words and strange definitions to make normal terms seem more malicious. Hubbard laid a clever trap, but in the end, it's a whole bunch of crap. Yeah, so I thought maybe a little jig like that, and then we'll do letter A, letter B, or whatever until we get all the letters done. Do give me your feedback. If maybe you have another line we could put maybe in there. And yes, so I've started already a couple of comment and questions and things like that. So I'm going to start picking them up. Let me just have a quick look through. Oh. Well, thank you, darling. Thank you. All right, so let me have a look. Right, so we got a question from Nancy Ali. How many languages do you speak? Well, fluently, I can speak 2 languages, really, English and German. I do speak Italian. I would say I can speak it well, verbally, but I'm not very good in writing or particularly reading. And I mean, obviously Swiss German, but to me, Swiss isn't really a language. It's more like an accent. Similarly, like if you would have English and like a very heavy Scottish accent, I think if there would be, it would be an accent rather than it being a completely different language. So yeah, but German and English, and then a good amount of Italian, enough to talk about regular things. I wouldn't be able to do a Scientology video, for example, in Italian. I do even struggle to do Scientology video in German, just because I spent so much time in Scientology in an English environment, talking all in English. The experience was in English, so it's much easier to talk about it in English rather than in German. But I do try to make content also on my channel in German, just to reach more people, obviously, like that. So thank you for your question. Oh, let me see. There you go. All right, I'm getting the hang of it. So yes, we had a new member, Caroline. So thank you very much indeed. Yes. All right. All right, let me have a look. Peter Anderson with a very naughty profile picture. Question: Do you were looking for an image of the old orc in Basel? Have you found one? No, I have not found one yet. So I live in Basel in Switzerland, and that is where I actually grew up in Switzerland. And some weeks ago, it may have even been a couple of months now, that I went to, because I had to go to the doctor for a monthly prostate examination, and I know it's supposed to be every year, but that doctor is just so excellent. He's such a good touch, I have to go every month. Anyway, so I was there, and my doctor happens to be very close by to where the old Basel Org is. Because I say old, because they got a new ideal org building, which naturally is not in middle town, but it's more in an industrial area, as they often are. And so I thought, let me go to the old org. Maybe there's somebody there. Maybe there's nobody there. Maybe it's just empty, derelict. I don't know what. And I went there, and lo and behold, the building was completely gone. And they built a new building there, and it's now looks like luxury apartments. I don't know if that belongs to a Scientology. No, I think it belongs actually to a Scientology, the person who actually built that there. So yeah, it's still some sort of Scientology connection there, but unfortunately, no, I couldn't find any old images. I went on Google to try to find images for the video that I did, just to show this is how it used to look like. I couldn't find nothing. So if anybody, I don't know, has some picture or something, you can send it to me. Let me see. I believe I do have. Yes. So you can send it to thespchef@gmail.com if you have that, or just generally speaking, if you want to have a chat, if you want to talk to me, you have a question or whatever, any email that you send to me is, of course, just between us. Unless you want me to talk about it, or if you say, give me some juice information, I will obviously ask you, may I share this with the class, and so on and so forth. Right, so you got another question from Peter Anderson. Comment: hope you add your SP yellow hat for the members of your channel. All right, my marvelous hat, yes. Perhaps Marilyn can help you create that emoji. Oh, all right. Yes. Yeah, I did. So anyone, well, there are a bunch of members now. Please be so kind to maybe pop in some of the emojis that I've created. I do hope they are, large enough that you can also read them, because a couple of them, it's an actual word. Once I wrote marvelous, and the other one is darling. So if any of the members could please pop that in there so people can also see what it is. I'm just looking at some of your amusing comments. All right, I'm going to star a few more that I've just seen. Oh, whoops. There we go. Okay. Right, so let's have a look. So this one we've already answered. Marvelous. Okay, question. What would your last 3-course meal be if you had to eat it for the rest of your life, every day? Good gracious. Last 3-course. Okay, so dessert, I would have, because obviously you have to think, you mustn't just think about flavor. You also have to think about nutrition, because if that's all you can eat, you have to make sure that it is something that's nutritious. Now, naturally, I would want to eat chocolate or cake every day. However, that's not going to be very healthy. So I would want to have probably a fruit salad as a dessert. Then, as a starter for the first course, I would have a large salad with lots of raw vegetables in it, like carrots, bell peppers, some onions. What else? Tomatoes, things, cucumbers, things like that. And for the main meal, I would want to have, let's say, rump steak with some potatoes and, well, asparagus. Why not? Asparagus, yeah. No sauce needed. So long as the meat is cooked beautifully, no sauce needed. So, yeah, I hope you can use that information for whatever that you need to use it for. All right. Another one from Joe. Question: what food reminds you of Scientology that you now hate the smell and taste of? Well, it's only one food really, which is yogurt. I cannot eat yogurt. The reason being, when I was a child, I was 8 years old when I did the purification rundown. And during the purification rundown, you have to take huge amount of vitamins, and some of them were quite large, and I just couldn't swallow them. They were just too big for me. And so what they did, I mean, some people would cut them up. So there are small chunks, quite sharp, and then you had to swallow them. I don't know if they tried it and it still didn't work, or if they just went right ahead and they took a pesta mosa and just completely ground up the vitamins and then just mixed it in the yogurt, and I had to eat the yogurt. And it was so disgusting. It was so bitter and gross and absolutely just gross. And not only when I was in the Purif, because my mother, she would give me a bunch of vitamins as well. I don't think I took vitamins every day, like outside of the Purif, like once I was done with the Purif or before the Purif. But my mother gave me quite regularly vitamins and things like that. And she would also grind them up and put them in the yogurt. And I absolutely hated that. And now, just talking about yogurt, just thinking about yogurt, when I see yogurt, I can just taste this disgusting bitter taste still on my palate. Now, if I have, I don't know, let's say a salad dressing with yogurt in it, that's fine. Or if I have some like an Indian curry and maybe there's a bit of yogurt with it, for example, that's fine as well. But just yogurt on its own, or also some flavored yogurt like strawberry yogurt or whatever, I just can't eat that. That's the one thing I really cannot eat anymore. But an actual meal, no, not really. There's no meal that really reminds me of Scientology. Or, I mean, if I see, for example, I go to a restaurant and I see like a Mexican menu and there's like beans and rice, naturally I have to think about the Sea Org. But yeah, but nothing apart from that, not really, no. Well, thank you for your question. Here we have a suggestion. A is for ARC break. Yes, indeed. That might very well be in there, of course, as that is a term we do hear very often. The ABC of, we need to word clear that again. Indeed, you'll have to word clear everything again and again and again in Scientology, regardless how many times you've word cleared it already in the past. All right, here we have a question from Nico Yake, not sure. Question: what is your favorite thing to cook, bake for yourself, the most satisfying? I have 2/3 of my cooking red seal before having to stop due to health issues. I'm not sure what a cooking red seal is. I'm assuming that is a because obviously there are different levels that you can train as a cook, as a chef. So I don't know if that is like an entry level or if it's a bit higher. But having done 230, you will have gotten most of the most essential things to cook. I'm sorry about your health. I hope you are doing well now. So to your question, what is your favorite thing to cook or bake for yourself, the most satisfying? Honestly, when I cook or bake for myself, I don't do anything fancy. I do very, very simple stuff. I do potatoes with a fried egg or something. If I have to cook, if I cook at work or if I cook for other people, then that's something else, because then there's a little bit of pride and I need to show what I can do, right? And I do very fancy things and so on and so forth. But for myself, I eat very simple. I mean, I'm common as muck. I eat very simple things. My favorite thing to cook, bake. Well, to bake, I would say is it's a fairly Swiss thing, I think. It's called Weihe, which is like an apple cake, like an apple tart, but it does not have, I believe, an apple cake or an apple. No, I think an apple tart is open. An apple cake would have a cover of crust on top, and an apple tart would be open. So it's a kind of apple tart that we do in Switzerland, and not only apples. We do it with cherries. We'll do it with pears, with anything, with any fruit really. That's something I do enjoy making because it's fairly easy and it's quite delicious. And to cook, um, as I said, for myself, I don't really cook anything expensive or fancy. So yeah, I mean, potatoes and fried eggs, that's pretty much what I eat. I know it's not very healthy, but you know. All right. Thanks for the question. Here's another question from Joe. Question: what language do you think in? Ooh, that's an interesting question. It really depends. I mean, it has happened to me because I work here in Switzerland, so everybody talks in German. But it has happened that I thought about something and I just started to talk to somebody in English, and I didn't even realize until they just sort of stared at me like, "What?" And then I realized, oh. So I think, generally speaking, I will think in English. I will think in English the majority of times. My dreams are English and German. It depends. But I think overall, I would say probably 70% of time I will think in English and 30% of the time I will think in German. Yeah, more or less, I would say, yeah. Here is a comment von macht mir doch egal. Basically means I don't care. Pretty much. All right. Is Scientology under surveillance in Switzerland? Because they would definitely have an old picture if that's the case in some reports. Oh, you're right. Yeah, they would probably. As far as I'm aware, it is not. I'm not sure. If Yolanda, and she's an activist in Basel, if you happen to be in the chat and you know if it's under surveillance, do write it in the comments. I don't think it is. In Germany, it is. In several German states, it is under surveillance, but I don't think in Switzerland. I'm not sure. But yeah, you're right. If it would be, they would have a report and they would have a picture. You're right. Yeah. All right. I have to go back a little bit in the chat. All right. All right. All right, here we have a question from Gilbo Baggins. Hello, a Baggins. Marvelous. Question. You come home after a long, busy shift in the kitchen. What do you make for yourself? Usually, usually after work, I don't really eat much. I start work at 6:30. I'm at work at 6 around, and then 6:30. That's when I officially start. And then I will have lunch at 11 until 11:30, and I would have a hearty lunch. I'll eat quite a lot of lunch, and beforehand, at home, I get up at 4:30 to have enough time to have a proper breakfast. And then usually after work, I don't really eat anything. I'll have a cup of tea, maybe some biscuits. Today is Friday, and so I've allowed myself a lovely beer. Cheers. Um, but yeah, I don't really eat anything after work. I'm just usually quite exhausted, so I don't eat anything. Again, tea, some biscuits or something, and that's it, pretty much. Yes, thank you very much for your question. All right. Here's a comment. Dark chocolate is healthy, they say. So add that to your dessert from Rem Arts. Yes, well, this is one of those things. It's like red wine. Everyone, like every few years, there'll come a new study. Oh, yes, red wine is very healthy. You should have a glass of red wine a day or dark chocolate. And then again, it will change again. So I don't know. Plus, I don't know if I'm on this. I think I don't remember the question was if I'm on an island or just generally what are my last 3 meals, because if I'm on an island, I wouldn't have a toothbrush probably. But no, so much chocolate, I think every day, I think I would just, no, actually, I wouldn't get sick of it. I'm Swiss, obviously not. So yeah, that would be an alternative, I suppose. Right. Okay, you got another question from Peter Anderson with this very handsome profile picture. Question. Last year, Jeff and Alex protested the IAS. Any plans to tag in for Jeff and join Alex to protest this year at the IAS? I have been thinking about it. I mean, I did do my first protest in Denmark with a marvelous bunch of people. And it went quite well, I would say. I was quite hesitant at first, of course, but then I just sort of just went and start talking to people, shouting at people, confront the list, and so on and so forth. So that went quite well. I'm just a little concerned about being there at the IS and then seeing people that I know, and then them seeing me and maybe talking to me and sort of say, Samuel, why are you doing this? Uh, these are bad people or whatever, trying to sort of get into my head or something. And I'm just not sure how I will react. So right now, I'm not completely sure if I'm going to be there. But I'm more sure that I will do it than I was a few months back. Let's put it that way. So I think I might, but I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But if it happens, I will certainly let you guys know about that. Got a question from the marvelous Bianca. Comment: When I was in a cadet dog, I also couldn't swallow the vitamins they made us take every evening. I had to chew them. Oh my god. And wash down with calm. Oh my god. It couldn't have been even worse. Oh my god, that's horrible. I'm really sorry about that. Oof. Chewing them because they're quite hard as well. Good gracious. Sorry about that. Hey, we've got Aaron here. Hello, darling. Lovely seeing you here. Here's a question from me and Taz. Question: Are you a chef now? I am indeed. So when I was in the SIOC, I was working first. I did the canteen, which is like a small kiosk, and then I moved into the galley, the actual kitchen. I was working there, and then I left in December of 2012. So I was then 20 years old, and then in March of 2013, that's when I first started to work then back in Switzerland. So I left the SIOC and I came back to Switzerland. I was in the SIOC at St. Hill in England. So then I came back to Switzerland. I started to work in the kitchen, but I was just sort of as a worker because I didn't actually do an apprenticeship properly. I didn't do my culinary school. And so I thought, to me, it was logical. I will just work in the kitchen because I had no school completion. I didn't study or anything like that. So to me, it was clear, okay, I'll be working in the kitchen. And then while I was there, I got a letter informing me that I had to serve in the military, because in Switzerland, all males have to serve in the military. There are, of course, certain circumstances. If you're, for example, not very healthy physically or mentally, if you're, for example, quite insane and you want to, do very dangerous things with a pew, 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 for example, then you would not be allowed to be in the military, and things like that. And so I went there. I ended up being there for 10 months. And while I was there, I was stationed in the kitchen. And in the kitchen, usually the way it works in Switzerland, when you turn 16, you'll do an apprenticeship as a chef. And then you're done when you're 19. And then right after that, you will go and do the military. So when I was there in the military, so all these young men, they had just finished culinary school. So all of the technical information and knowledge was very fresh in their mind. And they were telling me things that I thought, oh, wow, I never even thought about that. I would say at that point, I was able to cook, okay, but I didn't really understand what was happening. Like, why, if you sear a piece of meat, why does it become brown? What is the chemistry happening there? Why doesn't that happen to other things? Or maybe with a carrot, for example, it becomes brown faster, quicker than meat. Why is that exactly? And anyway, why is beef dark in color and why is chicken light in color? And things like that. And how different chemicals, like using salt, sugar, acidity, using different kind of temperatures and combination of temperatures, how that changes the flavor, the texture of foods, how that actually works. I found that really fascinating. And so I decided at the end of my time when I was in the military, all right, I'm going to go to culinary school and do an apprenticeship. Unfortunately, no restaurant wanted to take me on as an apprentice. And so the military said, well, why don't you do the apprentice here? And I was able to do the apprenticeship at the military in Switzerland. And so then I did it when I was 23 years old, and I've completed it when I was 26 years old. So this was almost 10 years ago. Next year, in 2025, it will be 10 years that I started my apprenticeship and my culinary school. So I've been a professional chef, shall we say, for 7 years. I've been able to work in amazing restaurants. And I am at the moment as well working in a restaurant. So thank you for the question. Indeed. Here we have a question from Joe. What is the difference between custard and crème pâte? I'm not sure what crème pâte is. Let me just quickly see if I can maybe just Google it. Because there are, obviously, when I was in, oh, I see. Yeah. Crème pâtissière. Okay. I know it under a different term. In culinary school in Switzerland, you learn most technical terms in French, but even within there, you have, some parts will say like that, some other parts will say like that. Okay, so custard, generally speaking, custard will have cornstarch in it or rice starch to thicken it, and crème pâte does not. It has much more egg yolk in it, and it is more difficult to make because you have to make sure the temperature does not exceed 81 or 82 degrees, because otherwise you will have scrambled eggs because of the egg yolk in it. And in custard, of course, you do have egg yolk in it, which is why you have this yellow color, but you also have starch in it. And when you have starch in it, it actually helps to prevent the egg from becoming scrambled eggs. So it's easier that way to make it. So the crème pâte, the French version, is much more heavy. It is much heavier, much richer in flavor than a regular custard. Hope that answered your question. All right. Here we have a question, another culinary question. What is a good vegetarian dish? No fish either. Well, what I really like to cook, a vegetarian or even vegan, are curries, different curries with lots of vegetables, with chickpeas or with lentils in it. The fantastic things you can do. You can make like a curry pot where you can also add like potatoes in it. rather than having a curry and then separately rice, for example. That's something I really enjoy doing, and it's fairly easy. So yeah, that would be that. And a marvelous apple chutney would go excellently with that as well. Here we have a protesting question. Question from Joe again. How did you feel when protesting, and how did you feel after on reflection? Well, when I first started, I was, of course, very nervous and not sure. But having the marvelous bunch with me as well there, I felt safe. I felt like I was there with friends. I was there with people who, if anything were to happen, they would help me, protect me, or whatever. And then I felt emboldened by that. And then I would. At first, I started to just talk with the pedestrians, just walking by, explaining what we were doing if they were interested. And after a while, I started to actually talk to the different staff and telling them to confront the list. We had Bianca, she wrote down the list from Liz's scale. I think she has it on a blog. She has a list of all the children that have spoken out so far, or people who have passed away in Scientology. And we had that list there. And so I would tell them, confront the list. And I would talk much more with the different staff. And it went quite well. Afterwards was interesting. What happened afterwards? I actually felt like I had committed an overt. I felt like I did something really, really bad. I felt like, oh my God, I'm going to get into so much trouble now, thinking in Scientology terms, I'm going to get into ethics trouble. I have to do lowest conditions and things like that. It was weird because, of course, I knew this was not going to happen, but I had the same kind of sinking feeling I did when I was in the Sea Oak and I did something wrong, or I thought I did something wrong, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get into real trouble after that. It was weird, but I knew it was just sort of like a reaction to it. I didn't feel actually really guilty about it. A couple of days later, it took me a few days. So the protest was on a Saturday, and I think maybe on Tuesday or Wednesday, it just sort of hit me what I just did. What I was part of. What a big deal that was actually for me, and yeah, that was a little emotional on that day. But no, I feel really happy that I did that. I think we all did very well there. We were able to give out lots of informational cards, and yeah, I'm happy. I will be very happy to do something like that again. Not only in Denmark, anywhere else in Europe as well, perhaps. All right. Oh, the marvelous Fluffy Squirrel, Madam Squirrel is here. Question: does a sprinkle of suppression help most dishes? Darling, most certainly. A sprinkle of suppression, if anybody doesn't know that, it's just a little bit of salt. So adding a bit of salt brings out the flavor, even in sweet dishes. If you're making a custard, if you're making a pie or anything like that, just a little sprinkle of suppression, it just brings out the flavor. It's most marvelous. All right. Comment: Google Earth goes back to 1990s. Oh goodness, I didn't know that. I'll have to figure out how to do that then. How I can go back in time. But that obviously would work. This is in regards to a question I had earlier about being able to find an old picture from the old Basel org, the org that I grew up in as a child. Yeah, if that works, I'll have to figure out how to do that. But yeah, excellent. Here we have another question from a girl. Question: what was your favorite part of your recent protesting? My favorite part, I would say, is being with a bunch of marvelous people, being there, knowing that they have my back, knowing that I was safe with them, that nothing really could have happened to make it unsafe or whatever, knowing that the police was on our side. Miriam, who organized the protest together with Balash, they made sure that everything, per regulation, that everything checked out with the police. The police actually drove by a couple of times, gave us a thumbs up. That sort of thing, knowing that we, legally speaking, doing everything right, and that I had the support from the other protesters there. That was something I would say that's my favorite part, basically. because that made the whole experience so much more enjoyable and relaxing, and it allowed me to be more relaxed, to go and talk to people. I managed to talk to 4 or 5 pedestrians, briefly talking about my story and why we're there, what the list is about, and so on and so forth. So I would say that is the best part of that. Here we see a cheers, and yes, cheers indeed. I'm enjoying a lovely Swiss beer. It's Friday, not every day, but on Friday, that's all right. Right, here we have a comment from the marvelous Peter Anderson. Comment: my avatar is not me. The image is Dustin Diamond while at Celebrity Fit Club. Okay, Dustin Diamond was an actor most nobly known as Samuel. Oh, Samuel Screech Powers in the TV series Saved by the Bell. I'm afraid to say none of these names mean anything to me, but marvelous. What a coincidence that his character name was Samuel, just like myself. Excellent. All right. Ah, look at that. Robots make music. This is a marvelous creator who makes music and music videos. And there was actually a music video that he shared with me that I uploaded on my channel. About OSA, about the Office of Special Affair, and David Miscavige. It's rather amusing. Let me actually, if you guys bear with me for just a moment, darlings, I will have a look if I can maybe get it and then maybe post the link to it. Let me see. Let's see. All right, so let me post it now. There you go. All right, so let me actually read what he actually wrote. So, hi, I was procrastinating on YouTube. Don't we all, darling? And so this live. Just wanted to say your story was one of the most moving I've come across. Oh, thank you. But I do hope you know I'm doing most marvelously now. Not just the traumatic stuff, but how you put your heart into cooking. Oh, yeah. It was very important to me to make the food as good as possible. And there's a second part to this character limit and don't want to write a novel, but you're a good dude. Oh, thank you. Happy you're doing good. Plus, found your calling, etc. Awesome. I'm not sure what you mean with my calling, but thank you very much. And I hope you're doing well. I hope your channel is doing well. Do check out his channel. He does most amusing stuff. All right. Here we have another question from Marvelous Bianca. Question: I am a horrible cook. Oh, darling, don't say that. And I'm trying to teach my daughter, but she says my recipes are bland. Which spice do you suggest for Bolognese? She'll be extra glad if it's an expert, unexpected one. Oh, right. Okay. So now, as it so happens, Bolognese, it used to be, I don't know if it still is, but it used to be in the Guinness World Book of Records for the one dish with the most amount of different recipes worldwide. I mean, if you go to Italy, every nonna will have a different recipe and they will swear it's the traditional recipe. Now, the herbs that I like to use, spices, I use clover, but be careful, use 1 clover. If you make a dish of Bolognese for maybe, for a family, for 4 or 5 people, maybe you want to do a little bit more for 6, 8 people, whatever, just use 1 clover, but use it right in the beginning because clover, it's a dried spice. And so it will take about 20 to 25 minutes for the flavor to actually start coming out. Use 1, maybe 2 clover, because clover are very strong in flavor, but that is excellent. An excellent spice that I like to use in the Bolognese. Yes, that's the only spice really. In regards to herbs, what I like to use is oregano, rosemary, thyme, basilicum. If you use fresh herbs, so if you buy these fresh, maybe you have them in your garden, chop them up, and maybe 5 minutes before the dish would be served, you add it to it and you mix it, and that's perfect like that. It will have the most amount of flavor from the herbs. If you put fresh herbs right in the beginning, or like an hour before the dish is actually done, it will lose flavor over time because of the heat and everything. If you use, however, dried herbs, then again, like the clover, it will need about 20 to 25 minutes for the flavor to really come out. So put it in 20, 25 minutes, half an hour before you think, okay, you'll be ready. Then you put it in there, and that will release the flavor the most. But in regards to a spice is, a spice would also be pepper, of course, pepper and clover. Yeah, that's the spices I use and the herbs I've just listed. So I hope that helps you with that. And do let me know if your daughter was excited about that. All right. Here we have another question from Joe. You're very busy. I like that. Joe, question. Feel free to skip if too personal. Oh goodness. I hope you're not going to ask about. Okay, let's see. Did you always know you were gay, or did you realize when you were older? Sorry if too personal. Feel free to skip. No, that's fine. I would say, I mean, I wouldn't have known that I was gay when I was a child. Um, like in retrospect, looking back, it was kind of obvious. Like the telltale signs of trying on in secret, locking the door. The makeup that my mother just had lying around, or slipping into the high heels, putting on a ridiculous large hat and things like that. Yeah, and I think just the way how I was very, up to a certain point. I mean, I had a very traumatic. I can't speak. Traumatic. I swear it's not the beer. Traumatic experience with a session where it was a upper induct. It's actually called upper indoctrination a session or drill or whatever, which I think is just so funny. It's called indoctrination, and where you as the PC, and then you've got the auditor, and the auditor commands you. You're not on an e-meter. They tell you, look at that wall, thank you. Walk over to that wall, thank you. Touch that wall, thank you. Turn around, thank you. And then you just repeat, and you just keep going for hours and hours. And this guy did this with me for so many hours. I went psychotic, and I went insane, really. And I think up to that point, I was very lively. I was always telling stories. I was very just full of energy, and I would say a bit more, well, gay, I suppose. After that, it sort of reduced a little bit. So I would say, looking back, yes, I was quite gay. And then I remember looking back at the cartoons that I was watching, and then I would always look at the male cartoons and be like, oh, he's really nice. Like, I wouldn't think he's sexy or anything like that, because of course, as a child, you don't think about these things, but you just think, oh, he looks really nice. I remember that. I didn't really care about the princess or something. I would be like, yeah, she's nice, I guess, but the prince, look at him, things like that. So I guess in hindsight, yes, obviously, but as a child, I never. And of course, I learned early on about the tone scale in Scientology, about being 1.1, covert hostility, being homosexual, and so I would never even have thought that is an option for me. Plus, as well, I mean, I never knew anybody who was gay. I never, met anybody. I never, I had no representation, so to speak. Like, I had no idea how a gay person looked like, really, apart that it's a really evil sort of person. And so, there were no, and because I didn't see myself as evil, naturally, I couldn't have been gay, so to speak. Anyway, it's a bit long-winded, but I do hope that answers your question. Right. All right. Hey, we got Danielle in the house. Hello, lovely seeing you here, darlings. And again, thank you for everybody who's watching now. We've got right now 45 people, which is amazing. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet, and all that good jazz. All right, let me just have a look through again if there are any more questions or comments and things like that. From Danielle, question: what is your favorite dish to create? I would say anything seared, really. Anything seared, meat, seared meat. I prefer that over grilled meat. I mean, I don't mind. It's not I don't like grilled meat, but I like seared meat that is, cooked for a long time in a nice sauce with vegetables and herbs in it. And because you're doing this process, you would use cheaper cuts of meat, so it's easy, so it's cheaper, obviously, but it will have to cook, obviously, for 2 to 3, possibly even to 4 hours, depending how large the piece is. But the beautiful thing about it is you grill it on all sides, so it has some extra flavor. You shove it in a pot, put in the vegetables in it, maybe some tomato. You put in some sauce, and you just let it stew like that in the oven, and you just forget about it. And while that is happening, you might prep some potatoes, some salad, or whatever. And it's just easy, it's convenient, but also it's so tasty. And I would say that is my favorite sort of dish to make. Yeah. Right. Let's see. Yes, Rachel Nav. We need more videos of you cooking and baking. Yes, I know. I still owe you guys a curry, a korma curry. I did once mention I would do that. You probably all have forgotten it, and now I've all reminded you. So there you go. I've just dug my own hole again. But no, I need to do that. I need to do more. You're right. It's just a little, I'm not happy really with the result. I would prefer to have a camera, like on me, as I'm explaining what I'm doing, and a different camera maybe closer at my hands, at the pots, so you can actually see what I'm doing precisely. And obviously I need a proper kitchen. I mean, the last couple of cooking video sessions that I did right here on this desk with a little hot plate, because my kitchen is so tiny. I couldn't possibly do it in there. So yes, I will, and there will be more stuff coming, but I just have to figure out how to do it, a bit better, because I'm not really happy with the result. It might be entertaining and funny, but I also want it to actually be something you can use. You can actually use what you see and actually try it out, and figure out what I'm actually doing while I'm doing it, rather than having just the audio basically for it. So yeah, I want to do more for sure, but I just have to figure out how to do that. All right. Here's a comment from El Sarmento. I love your hair. It's very green. The banner used in Denmark was great too. Yes, indeed. It was very nice. Bianca did that for us. She took many hours doing that. Hats off to her. Oh, we got a new member. How marvelous. Carrie Carr. Thank you very much for becoming a new member. Welcome to the kitchen crew. I do hope you like the hot temperatures in here. Make sure your drawer where you can put your knives is right over there. The chef set is there, and let's get cracking. We've got a seating of 300 people, so I hope you're prepared. Thank you very much for being part of the darling crew. But of course, all of you guys are darlings. Some are just more official, I suppose. Right. Please forgive my cringy jokes. All right, here we go. Question from James Steely. Steely or Steel? I'm going to say Steely. Sounds cute. a question: if you could go anywhere to protest now, where would you go? Love you, buddy. Thank you very much. Where would I go if I could protest anybody? Well, really, probably in America, just because there's so much happening and there's so many great protesters there, and I would love to meet all of you guys. Um, but I mean, yeah, I mean, anywhere really. I mean, there's nowhere in particular um, that I'm thinking of, but I want to do more protests. That's for sure. And there are a couple of other things happening as well in the background uh, that I will inform you as soon as I can and as soon as it is far enough in the process that I can actually announce it. But there are a couple of other things I'm doing outside of YouTube in regards to protests, bringing awareness of Scientology in Switzerland, and so on and so forth. All right, question. Thank you for your question. Here we have a question from Macht mir doch egal. Question: buffalo mozzarella or normal one? It depends what we are using it for. If we are using it as a raw dish, in the sense of, for example, as a salad, then buffalo mozzarella. If we are doing a pizza, for example, or some other dish where the mozzarella will be under a lot of heat, it is almost, I wouldn't want to say a waste, but it's almost like a pity using buffalo mozzarella because it is so much more expensive. Then I would just use normal, regular mozzarella. Particularly because, for example, on a pizza, you have the tomato sauce, you've got different herbs, and then maybe you have some other things that give flavor, and it just sort of undermines the unique flavor of the buffalo mozzarella because that is it's a very young cheese. So in the process of making cheese, all the cheese start off exactly the same, and the harder cheese is the older it gets, and the older it gets, the more flavor it has. So if it's a very young cheese, like for example mozzarella, it does not have a lot of flavor. And so you want to pair it with very light things to be able to maintain the flavor, And so I hope that answers your question. So if it's a cold dish, if it's raw like that, maybe with a few slices of tomatoes or something, I would want to have buffalo mozzarella. If it is cooked in some way, baked or whatever, then I would just use a normal one. Here we have a comment from Tennessee Tia. I enjoy your content very much. Thank you. Love your ABC song. Look forward to your dictionary definition. Stay strong. Thank you. I now that I've said it, I have to sort of commit to it. Oh dear. But no, I've been already going through the dictionary, picking up a few words for my ABC of Scientology cult words series. For anyone who's fairly new to the chat, I've decided to I will start a series. Each video will be, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. It just depends, where I will pick up different words from Hubbard, from his definition in Scientology. And sometimes he just invents a word, like, for example, ARC break. Or sometimes he will take a word or a term that actually exists, like open mind, having an open mind, and he will twist it and make it more evil sounding. And I will pick up these definition. I will read them out loud. I will show them to you in the dictionary, so you can see that's actually what it says. And then I will talk about how I used it in the past, or my own experience with it, just to sort of give more information about it. And I'm tending to do this with every letter of the alphabet. So yes, I do hope you will enjoy that when that will come along. Right here we have a question from Larky. Question: when you were on with PTS for Life, so Jeff, you were explaining the difference in chocolate, Swiss versus USA, that you got that info from a food historic book. Could you share the book title? Did I say it was from a book? I'm pretty sure I learned that actually from my culinary teacher. He may have shown me a book about that, but it would have been from his personal library, so I wouldn't know I would have to ask him. I would have to ask him if he has a particular book, but I don't recall the title of the book. But yeah, there is a difference between American chocolate and Swiss chocolate, or just European chocolate in general. American chocolate would tends to have more acidity. Well, mainly milk chocolate. American milk chocolate has more acidity in it than Swiss chocolate, or just generally speaking European chocolate. Joe, question: do you ever order takeaway? No, no. I just honestly, it's just, to me, it's not worth the money. It's just too expensive. Honestly, it's too expensive in the sense. Well, I know how to cook, and I'm so simple to please with food. I mean, there's hardly anything that I will not eat, and I cook in a very simple way. I do have a place not far away from where I live, where they do like burgers, and then every once in a while I will go over there. But then I will go there and eat rather than having it ordered and having it brought up to me. From Robots Make Music. He's correct. He's commenting on something that he commented before. Sorry, Gamma died in the last comment. Calling, because I think he asked me if that was my calling or something, and I didn't quite understand that. Calling being an awesome chef and making people happy, plus making people laugh on YouTube. If I enjoy, well, I certainly enjoy being that. I hope I'm an awesome chef. Well, I am a chef. And I hope the guests are happy and my seniors are happy with my work. Trying to make people laugh, of course. I mean, some of you may have seen my latest video where I talk about the disconnection that my brother has done, and my stepfather, as far as I'm aware, although he hasn't done it, officially, so I don't actually know, but I think yes. In any case, he blocked my number, and the other day, on Tuesday or Wednesday, I was in the kitchen and I had to prep a whole bunch of aubergine or eggplants, as you Americans would say. And there was one eggplant which had a funny, how it is, funny looking vegetable. But this vegetable had like it looked like a nose and a tuft of hair, and it just looked so funny, and I just had to chuckle at that. And I had to show everybody, and it just cheered everybody up. And I almost felt guilty for being silly because of what just happened with my brother. Almost like, how dare you not be upset longer? How dare you to try to just sort of move on from it? But then I said to myself, oh, don't be silly. Because, I mean, I've been sort of mentally prepared for the potential of him disconnecting from me for years, because for years I've been wanting to talk about Scientology, but my stepmother has advised me, oh, don't, because she knows she doesn't know a lot about Scientology, but she understood that this connection may happen and that Scientology might start to attack me. And so I'm glad she actually told me to wait, because at the time when I wanted to talk about it, I didn't want to do a YouTube video, but I wanted to go on a channel and just talk about my story. I was very angry. And so I think the interview wouldn't have gone so well, I think, because I would have just been very angry, but now I've done now my interview with Jeff, my first interview back in November, December of 2023. And I think that was a very good time to have done it, because I was calm. I've sort of accepted what happened. And because of that, once my brother actually did disconnect, yes, I was sad. Yes, it was a little unexpected in the sense, because he actually told me if they were to ask him to disconnect from me, he wouldn't. So that calmed me down. They gave me assurance, oh, okay, everything will be fine. And then he did disconnect anyway. So that was a little bit of a shock in that way, because I was sort of assured that he wouldn't, but then he did. But I just, there's nothing I can do about that right now. He's an adult. He wants to do this. I understand. I told him that I loved him, that he's always welcome if ever he needs anything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the circumstance. He can come to me. My door is always open to him. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can really do. And I don't want to, I don't know, like be sad all the time about it, because it's just, life goes on. And while you cook, you find a funny looking aubergine or eggplant, and you just have to laugh at that. And yeah, I mean, out of a lot of comedy, I think there's comedy often comes from sort of dark and sort of sad places, I find, at least for me. And so anyway, I do hope that makes sense. All right. Here we have again a definition calling purpose in life. All right. Thank you. Rachel, now question: what is clover? I'm not familiar with that herb. Would it have a different name in the United States in May? If you allow me, I'm just gonna get up for a moment, go to my kitchen and get one, so you can see what I mean. I might even be pronouncing it wrongly, but let me show you. All right, so here it is. Let me see if it is in English. It is in German. It is in French. Let me see. No, I don't see it in English name for it. But let me just take one out. It is a dried flower. Well, a dried bud, really. Let me do it like those makeup influencers. I don't know if you can see it. It is very, very intense and strong in flavor, and goes very well with dark meats. It goes well with lentils. It goes well with roasted vegetables as well. Just the flavored. You can buy it like this as a whole, or you can buy it also powdered. If you use it powdered, it's obviously going to be more intense, because the flavor will be able to reach much further, because it's in such tiny little particles. So really use it very sparingly, because it's very strong in flavor. Right, I'm just having a look again at the comment. I feel a little awkward and kind of rude ignoring you like that. But I do hope you're being entertained anyway. Right, here's a comment from Daniel Chamberlain. Your calling is your purpose in life. Right, again, explaining calling. A strong desire to do something you really want to. Quite often, it's like a vocation or job that benefits others. All right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Here we have Bianca. In Sweden, we have Christmas ham traditionally has cloves. Oh, maybe, yeah, cloves. Cloves? Maybe I said something, didn't say cloves. Maybe I said something else. And it's very yummy. Yeah, these little dried flower buds. Yeah, we have that as well in Switzerland. We also have like apples. When you have an apple, you just take a regular apple, take out the core, and then you just stick a few of those just right into the raw apple, and then you bake it like that. Also very nice. Here we have a comment from Jilbo Baggins. Comment: I think your story about not having any gay people as a role model, good or bad, is a great illustration of how important representation is in all areas: entertainment, politics, etc. Yes, I suppose. Yeah, I guess, because as I grew up, I didn't. Well, maybe it could also simply be that I was not allowed to see shows and whatever with a gay character in it. But definitely in the 90s and early 2000s, I'm sure there were not so many gay people or lesbians, bisexuals, and things like that on TV or in movies. And now we have much more of that. So yeah, you can see yourself. You can sort of realize it's normal. It's okay. It's not like the end of the world or whatever. Because of course, as a child, you always want to fit in. You want to be like other children and not be rejected from the group, that you're in. Of course, so it is only natural that you want to fit in as well as possible and match the energy and whatever. So yeah, you're quite right. Oh, it's Jeff, darling. One of my favorite gingers. Oh, I missed most of your live. Darn YouTube and the lack of notifications. Damn it. Well, don't worry. Who knows? Maybe I'll be on for another 5 hours. So you've just been entering right at the beginning of it. No, don't worry, guys. You don't have to keep up with my cringy jokes quite for that long. Right, if you have any questions, comments, please write comment question. That'd be marvelous. That helps me to track everything. Here we have another question from Joe. Question: which famous chefs inspire you, and do you read a lot of cookbooks? I don't read quite so many cookbooks anymore. I have a lot of technical books. That I wouldn't say I read. It's more that I look things up. Oh, how was that again? Or how do you make that? Where do you find that? When is that particular herb? Or where does this particular herb actually come from? Just random question. There's actually a saying in German. When you basically are cursing somebody, like "be gone," you say "go where the pepper grows." That's a German saying, and it basically means just go away to nowhere, basically. And I just randomly thought to myself, well, where does pepper actually come from? I found out it comes from India, from a region called it was in the southwest of India, starting with the letter D, but I don't remember. Anyway, so I found out about that, and I found out that Alexander the Great, he traveled through there and he brought that to Europe and so on and so forth. And at one point, pepper was so valuable, it was 4 times the amount of gold in weight. And people would make counterfeits. So they would take just regular blue berries and they would dry them to make them look like dried peppercorn because it was so valuable. So things like that. So that's the sort of thing I would look up. And a chef that inspires me. Well, a chef I had the pleasure of working with. At the time when I was working with him, he had 1 Michelin star. And now he has 2 Michelin stars. His name is Patrick Mahler. And I found him very inspiring because he actually did his apprenticeship at a hospital. So he did it he didn't do it in a large fancy restaurant. He didn't come from a family of, already established chefs or people who have worked in kitchens or in hotels or anything like that to sort of help him. He really worked his way up, and he now has 2 Michelin stars. And if you don't know, to have 3 Michelin stars is the maximum achievement. I mean, once you have 3 Michelin stars, you can't go any higher. You can only drop. You can only become worse by losing a star, right? And you get a star by having people come to your restaurant and they will inspect things, but you will never know when they're there. I mean, you can sort of tell because maybe they'll ask a lot of questions, or they might, behave a little bit strange way. You can sort of tell, oh, these might be special, secret inspectors of the Michelin office to rate your restaurants and whatever. And he inspired me a lot because of his background, and because of that, he was very much he was very grounded. Like, he was a very down-to-earth person, and he was really nice. He took a lot of time to show me things, explain me things, and I learned a lot from him. So he's somebody who I look up to very much. I should give him a call, actually. Give him a call. I should write him. I haven't talked to him for some time, but I see every once in a while stuff that he does on Instagram and so on and so forth. So he's doing very well. So yeah, he's somebody I actually knew that I look up to. Yeah. And a Swiss chef, his name is Anton Mosimann. I had the honor to actually meet him as well, because I was at a cooking competition, and he shook my hand and he gave me a book as a prize, as one of the prizes for having won in this competition. And he's probably the most famous Swiss chef, and he used to cook for Lady Di, and she apparently loved his risotto that he made. So yeah, he's probably the most famous Swiss chef. Although now he's not so active anymore. He's getting on in years. All right, thank you for your question. Right, I'm just having a look for other questions or comments, anything like that. I'll be wrapping up then. Good gracious, already almost 1.5 hours. So it's 1 hour 20 minutes. So maybe we'll do another 10 minutes of responding to comments, questions, and things like that. Here we have a question from Marvelous Jeff. Question: Samuel, have you ever made cloud egg? I'm not sure what you mean with cloud egg. I can have a guess, which is when you have egg whites and you whisk them. And by doing that, you are introducing air under it, and it becomes very fluffy. It looks almost like whipped cream. So that would be cloud egg. So you would use this for different things. You might use this, for example, if you're making a cake, to make it very, very fluffy, very, very light, which is excellent if you want to make a cake and then later on drain it, drench it in maybe a syrup or in alcohol, because it will look like a sponge. It has many, many tiny little holes because of the stiffened egg white. Or of course, for example, if you make tiramisu, one of the steps is to fluffen up the egg. So I think that's what you mean. Do let me know if that is it. So yes, we have done it a few times. I've got a comment from Cici. Comment: US or us from the Sea Oak never learn to cook. I will watch you, darling. Never learn to cook. So you were in the Sea Oak and you never learned to cook? Or are you referring to me? Because it is true. I didn't learn to cook in the sense that, well, I was just thrown in the kitchen and it's sort of like make it go right. And I was trying to do it as good as possible. I used my own meager pay that I had to buy a few cookbooks, which I then left there when I came over here, because I thought, okay, I will leave them the cookbooks to help them. And apart from that, I only had two suitcases to take with me, and I just didn't want to take the books; they were too heavy. So I bought cookbooks to sort of educate myself a little bit, but I was never taught how to cook really. So yeah, I just sort of had to figure it out by myself. Right, I see some comments about Swiss chocolate, how marvelous it is, and I must agree, of course. Yes, indeed. I did send Jeff's Swiss chocolate, and now I can barely eat anything else. I mean, he's eaten so much Swiss chocolate by now. I've sent him a couple of times, Swiss chocolate. I'm sure at least 1% of his DNA is Swiss now. So he might be eligible to a second citizenship. Although, no, he needs to have 3%. 3% of your DNA has to be Swiss chocolate. This chocolate police does come around once a month just to make sure everything is in order. Otherwise, you lose your password, of course. Here's a comment. Comment: I am so sorry you experienced disconnection, but you are an inspiration to everyone, and your story can help others. Thank you for speaking out. Thank you, and that's all right. Life happens. The family you have is the family you get. You can't really choose family, even though I was told when I was a child I chose that family. But anyway, apart from that craziness. But yeah, it's all right. I'm doing okay. And, I actually had a few weeks back a conversation with my stepfather, he who I believe has now disconnected because he blocked my number. And he basically was blaming me for destroying the family because I dare to speak out. Like, why can't I just shut up? Why can I not just leave the past in the past and so on and so forth? And I told him, look, I will do a lot for the family if it comes down to it. But one of the things I will not ever compromise on, whether for my family or for friends, is my freedom of speech and my freedom of thought. Okay. And I much rather uh, have fewer family and fewer friends, but I can speak as I please. I can speak as I want. And I know my friends feel comfortable enough around me, my friends and family, that they can speak and say whatever they want, without fearing whatever. And yeah, that's what I told him, but he didn't understand it. He didn't get it. But anyway, that's that. Here, yes, we've got the correction. Clove, not clover. So I said clover. So obviously you've got the 4-leaf clover, and then you've got the clove. Right. Thank you for that. All right. Let's see. Any more questions or comments or anything like that? Here we have an interesting question from Paula Votek. Sam, a question, Sam, is there anything you miss about Scientology? I wouldn't say Scientology as such, but the environment of being in a team, of all being there, knowing that we are all suffering throughout the day, 14, 16, 18 hours a day, but we're doing it for this great purpose. And it was a great feeling knowing that we're there to save the planet, feeling like we're the only group in the world who is actually doing something effective, trying to help everybody. That sort of feeling, I guess that is what was great about it. I wouldn't say there's anything in Scientology that I miss or anything like that. It's more the feeling of being in this group, having this very intense purpose, and so on and so forth. I would say, and also I have to say, not having any responsibility of thought, not having any responsibility of what is happening outside of what is my post, of my responsibility. Like when I was in the SEOC, all I had to focus on was working in the kitchen. I didn't have to focus about politics. I didn't have to focus about any sort of news of what's going on in the world. I didn't have to focus about taxes, payments, anything like that. The lack of, that sort of thing, that was very comforting. Because now, obviously, being here, obviously, I have many more freedoms, but there's so many more responsibilities now, and bloody taxes as well, and all of that nonsense that life is all about. But I would say it was definitely worth leaving it for sure. But yeah, that's the only thing I would say I miss from Scientology. Right. A lovely little comment from BTS for Life. I sure do love Samuel, and seeing how happy he is in his life now that he's free from the cult. Yeah. Jeff, my dear, I do love you as well. And don't worry, no homo, no homo. I love you from the bottom of my bottom, Jeff. All right, enough of that. All right. Here's a cooking question from Rachel Nav. What do you think of Gordon Ramsay? I think he's a lot of fun, a lot of very entertaining. I identify with his outbursts quite well. because something I cannot abide in the kitchen is laziness and well, laziness, really being lazy, uh, trying to make trying to do a shortcut and then undermine the quality of a product, for example. If you have a shortcut, if you you should always work smart instead of hard, right? Of course. But if you do a shortcut but it undermines the quality of a product and you do it knowingly, or if I tell you, I'm the head chef or whatever, you are my commie, and I tell you, okay, you need to do this, that, and the other, commie as in commie the cuisine, not the Communist Party commie, um, and you don't do it exactly as I tell you, I get very annoyed by that. Or if I ask, do you understand? Do you get that? Any questions now? Okay, good. Get on with it. And then the person will make a mistake. That's something I get very annoyed about because, so that's something that he gets very annoyed about as well. So I do identify with that. But funny thing is, I actually worked with a chef. His name is Norman Cook. He worked in the Siok. He ended up working at the Stables with me for a few months, and then he went to the restaurant for the public. And he was actually trained by Gordon Ramsay. And I asked him, well, is Gordon Ramsay actually that explosive and angry and so on and so forth, as people always say and make him out to be? And he told me, no, he actually isn't. He's mainly like that for the camera, really. But he does get annoyed when people are lazy in the kitchen and don't do a job properly, even though they could, So yeah, I guess I like him. I find him very entertaining, very funny. He's got a wonderful dark sense of humor, which I do as well. So that's perfect. Right, I have no idea how far behind I am, so I'm just going to scroll a little bit through. Oh, here's a comment about spice routes. The world owes us Portuguese a lot. Yet you're right. You're absolutely right. The Portuguese and the Dutch, darling, and the Dutch and the English, of course, found a lot of wonderful spices with which half of the dishes I wouldn't be able to cook now, or not as well anyway, not as deliciously. All right. Here's a question about Mexican dishes. Not a lot. Have I tried cooking lots of Mexican dishes? No, not really. A little bit here and there because um, I've never worked in a restaurant that was like specifically for that. So if ever we did, like maybe we would have done like a Mexican week or something like that, and we'll do a few Mexican dishes, but not enough that I feel confident that I would say that if I were to invite somebody to home or a bunch of people, I would say, all right, tonight I will cook Mexican for you guys. I wouldn't feel confident enough to do it justice, so to speak, to do it really quite well so that I would be happy with it as well. Here's a simple comment. Hi, Samuel. Well, hello, Amber. How are you? All right. Here's a question from Diablo Rose 96. Question: just joined. Thoughts on creating a cookbook? I thought you mentioned it once. Not. I wouldn't. This was actually when I did an interview with Aaron from Growing Up in Scientology. I think there was also a question like, oh, would I do a cookbook? I don't know if I would do a cookbook, but maybe like a book on technical things, like technical terms, and because that's something I find very interesting and fascinating. Like, how do these things work? Like, why does a why does a souffle rise, and so on and so forth? Like, what is happening there exactly? That's something I find interesting. I'm a nerd like that. I just don't know if the book would do very well, just because it's so nerdy and so specific, so niche. I might do. Maybe someday I will do like a more as a joke or something, like a Scientology cookbook, and do write down recipes and dishes from my time when I was in the Siok. Maybe something like that, but I don't know. We'll see. If I were to do something like that, I would probably do like self-publishing, rather than anything large scale or anything like that. Oh yeah, all right. I think I just reached the end, so I've got here another question. question. Where is it? There it is. No. Oh, people keep writing stuff, so it moves up. Okay. From McGregor. Question: what is your favorite cookie to make? My favorite cookie. I don't know. It's kind of basic, but just chocolate chip cookie. Yeah, a good chocolate chip cookie. Why not? Yeah. Well, but my favorite cookie to eat, or as I would call, as I'm sort of British, a biscuit, is one with oh goodness, how is it called again? Well, with grains in it and things like that, because I love those cookies to dunk them in tea and eat them like that. But to make, I would say chocolate chip. Yeah, definitely. All right. Let me see. I've got here an automatically start one. Right, because we had a new member, that's right. Carrie Cara. I think I already mentioned that, but why not? Let's mention it again. Yes, I do have memberships now. If you like to support fabulousness itself. Oh God, cringe. But you know what I mean. If you want to support me a little bit, I've got. I think the cheapest one is about $1, and then it goes up to like 3, and then about $5, and then I've got 3 other levels which are a bit more expensive for the people who just don't know what to do with all the money that they have. Here, comment, oatmeal cookie. Yes, indeed. That's the best cookie to dunk, I find, anyway. Oh, goodness, we've got here, right at the end of our show, I was about to close off, another membership. Thank you very much indeed. That's very kind of you. Pinche Becky. 0 Fs given. Oh, right. Well, excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Right. So now we've come to the end of the live. We've been at it for about an hour, 40 minutes. I thank you very much, everybody, for having been here, for having commented questions, for having listened my ramble here. And I want to thank you again for everybody who has subscribed. I have now just over 1,500, which is amazing to me. The wonderful new members that I have now. I want to thank you for that. Yes, so I wish you a most marvelous day. I hope you can enjoy your day outside, have a little walk, cook something nice, have a cup of tea, or like me, it's evening here, Friday evening. I'm having a lovely beer. So thank you again. And with that, I would say goodbye. Thank you. Bye bye.